Yo, what is going on YouTube? It's Cons Vlogs. We're back with another video today. We are back with round 2 of this sort of car review comparison type videos. We're back with the C8 Z06, as you guys know, 2024 C8 Z06. Last week we actually did Braden or South Valley Photos 2013 Lamborghini Gallardo Final Edition. If you missed that video, go check it out. I will put it in a playlist down below. But instead of the Gallardo today, we have Jake here, aka Frostbite, in the GT4. So tell us a little bit about the GT4.
So it's a 2016 GT4. It's built off the Cayman platform, which is awesome because it's a perfect 50-50 weight distribution. Flat 6 engine out of the 991 Carrera. They come from factory with 350 crank. I have this with headers and just a baseline tune. So it's 385 wheels, so it's bumped it up just a little bit. They only built 2,500 of these for 2016 and then brought back the GT4 in 2020. So I drove a newer one and it's got a lot more creature comforts, like a backup camera. It's a little bit more plush, Apple CarPlay, all that stuff. But as far as driving experience, I liked the older one better because it's a bit more raw. NA, manual, lightweight, and just a really fun car.
So there you have it. And what's the name of the color? GT Silver Metallic. Absolutely beautiful car. How many miles have you put on it?
So it's got 2,400 right now. So I've done 2,000 miles since I bought it, which was like 3-4 months ago.
That's awesome. So he bought it with 400 miles on it, not even broken in.
No.
Brand new car, basically untouched. Yeah,
I think it's like 2,950. Let me look.
So live update, I had to add this in. The GT4 weighs less than 3,000 pounds. The C8 Z weighs about 3,600 pounds. I'm not going to go into too much depth on the C8 Z spec in this video because I've done it in about 4 different videos now. So go ahead, check it out on the channel. And while you're at it, you guys, subscribe to Jake's channel here. Give the plug.
I appreciate it.
What's the channel?
Frostbite_UT.
Perfect.
Yeah,
perfect.
It's a terrible one.
So he has this beautiful GT4. He also has a red Shelby GT500. The GT500 is one of my favorite cars of all time. So that video will be coming as well, but we've got the Porsche 2016 and a 2024, so keep that in mind when it comes to creature comforts and whatnot. Again, just like the Gallardo, I mean, these cars are 8 years apart. So rear-wheel drive, flat 6, right around 400 horsepower, maybe a little bit more with the headers and a tune. 670 horsepower from the flat plane crank 5.5 liter V8 that comes in the C8Z. My dad's hopping in the Porsche right now. So this guy is 6'3". I don't know how much he weighs, but he's 6'3". He's got a big build. He's jacked. He's kind of jacked. Porsche GT4, he fits in there great, he says. Jake and me are gonna be driving this. He's gonna be driving, I'm gonna be riding along. The noise is wild for sure.
First impressions, very driver orientated. Like I said, I've sat in a C8 before, so this isn't like not familiar to me to some extent. I do like that everything's right here. It's within reach. It's nice. At the same time, I'm a little like, there's a little too much.
Yeah.
A little too much going on.
You should try sitting over here. There's no room.
Just kind of looking around at first, holy blind spots. There's a lot of blind spots. Or like the driving or anything, but right off the bat, the throttle response is great. I do like that. I have my seat up pretty high, and it's weird because the hood just vanishes.
Oh, you can't see it at all.
There's no front
seriously.
end.
That's why the front lift in this car is an absolute must.
Yeah, I actually really like this square steering
It's nice, huh?
It's weird. It's so different, but I like that it's square. I know some people complain about the square, which I don't think is a big thing because when you're driving like really sporty and aggressive, you want 9 and 3 anyway. All right, turning radius, real life application here. Not too bad.
No.
Coming from my car to this, I can already tell it's a longer wheelbase. No, that's a C6.
C6,
yeah,
beautiful,
C6.
Grand Sport. He's got his New Balances on for sure.
It's definitely a khaki short New Balance license.
Oh,
right there.
yeah.
Ooh, the torque in this from the low end, just like right there.
That is the main thing that I'm excited to talk about, actually, is the difference in power band between these cars. Because everybody knows Porsche's flat 6s are something else, dude.
Yeah.
They're insanely well engineered. race engines.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you to actually get on this once we get to Mexico and see what the difference is in that torque curve. The
torque curve that I've noticed in the GT4, which by the way, the wing risers just, dude, seeing my Porsche in person now with the wing risers. Oh, dude. Also, that blinker is sick. I had no idea that's how the blinkers worked on it.
The Porsche is insane.
It's like first and second gear, it's got a lot of low end torque, but then you get into the higher up gears and all the torque is high end, and that power band as you're going through corners, right? So it's specifically engineered and designed to be that way. I'm just gonna give it a little. That is intoxicating.
It's weird, dude. I'm telling, and that's just in sport too. Like it's wild.
Yeah. So that torque curve, you're right. It's lower, then flattened out to about 3,000, and then at 4 it just like hits.
Yes.
I already hate the blind spots in this.
Yep.
Like I'm looking, trying to figure out where cars are, and I've got these mirrors, and that's about it. This rear view mirror, it's not bad, but because it's wide angle, everything looks way closer than it is.
Yes.
Like when your dad was right behind us, he wasn't actually that close, but I thought he was gonna hit us. I don't know what the suspension is set up in.
It's in Tour right now.
Dude, this is so comfy. Like even normal mode, like mine, I think these cars are definitely engineered and built for different practicalities and realities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like GT Porsche, they're designed for the track, but you can still beat the crap out of them and they're fine, right?
Yes.
Where this, like, let's be honest, I'm not trying to offend anybody here, but the reality of Corvettes is they cater to the older seniors, but this is plush, this is comfy. Air noise, like as far as how loud it is in the cabin, it's not too bad. We're only going 65 right now, this, you know, actually under the speed limit. I want to say it's a little bit louder than my Porsche actually.
We got to do an exhaust comparison. The GT4 has headers.
Yes.
The Z06 has the stock exhaust.
Dude, there's just something about Porsches. I hated Porsches to begin with. I really did. And it wasn't until I like drove Jeeves' 3RS that I really started to fall in love with them.
The way that I picture Porsches, as far as their design goes, is like a teardrop.
Oh, dude.
Like a raindrop.
Right there. I know we're not in the right modes for this, but just day-to-day driving, there's a little bit of understeer right there.
Oh, dude, I believe that.
And the transmission, I don't know what mode we're in, like I said, but it's a little slow. So take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. It's meant to be in a cush, plushy setting, right?
Yes.
Tour mode, right? That thing doesn't have modes. Like you don't have a mode selector or a drive selector. You have exhaust and the sport suspension. That's it. And in my video that I did, which go back and watch it if you haven't already, when I did my 500 versus my GT4, the amount of storage in the GT4 is actually kind of staggering.
That's crazy.
The fact that I'm a full-grown adult, that's totally bigger than 5'6", and I fit in the front boot actually surprisingly well, is
wild.
It's ridiculous.
Yes.
I could fit 4 bags easily in the Porsche.
I think that is one thing that kind of sets apart both the Porsche and the Z06, is that they're still very much livable cars.
Yeah, I was watching a video and someone explained it super well. Is like the Huracans and the Ferraris and like, you know, even the 3RS, like the new 3RS, there's literally no storage. The frunk doesn't exist anymore.
Wow.
Because they've all used it for fencing.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
He explained it perfectly in his video where he's like, this kind of car is like you leave it at the track. You only drive it on the track, or it's like to a car show.
100%.
Back, right? And that car show is like less than 30 minutes away. Whereas these, like, yeah, you could go on a road trip, you could, you know, do a nice long cruise with your buddies or your car club or whatever, and you'd be fine. I'd definitely pick this over the GT4 if I was doing long drives.
The seats.
Dude, the seats, they're snug. I don't know if they're any more comfortable than my GT4 though.
It was. Yeah. So he drove the Z06 in touring mode.
Yeah.
But it's good though. It's like a daily driving experience.
It's daily drivable.
Yes.
Like, it's cushy, it's comfort. The only thing I could not stand were the blind spots. Driving position and everything is great. I don't also like the fact that I cannot tell where the hood is.
Yeah. I actually got a survey from Chevy today about the car, and it was the only complaint I had was the visibility. So that being said,
how about that?
I recognize and feel everything you said. That is so, the manual on that thing is so fun to drive. The downshift, the auto rev match is incredible. I miss that so much. It's not overly easy. You have to shift it, but it's very responsive. I also like the steering, you turn it and it's instantaneous.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I thought those seats were going to be less comfortable than my cushy GT2
We were
seats.
literally just talking about that in the car.
But they are comfortable to sit in. It was very comfortable to drive. The sound is incredible. I don't know what a stock one sounds like, so I can't compare it to that, but this one sounds wonderful. Yeah, I love driving it, even through the city.
Track mode.
All right, so we're in the hills of Guadalajara, Mexico. We've got it in track mode. The suspension already stiffened up. That does not feel naturally aspirated at all. That's like borderline supercharger. Dude, I mean, it hugs, it does. I can definitely tell it sits a little bit higher and it has a little bit more body roll than the Porsche does, and my seats hold you better. I'm still sliding a little bit with these seats. Thoughts? Dude, I can't get over the exhaust. Okay, electronic assisted brakes, not my favorite. Like, the brakes are there, but I'm not getting feedback in the pedal. In that Porsche, you're pressing, you feel it. I can feel it from my body, like the G-forces, but I don't feel it in the pedal. I might need to push harder because I haven't like tried really stomping on them yet. That torque is wild. Jeez Louise. Whoa.
It's insane, dude, I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh. Wow. This is amazing. Dude, the sound, I'm sorry, it beats the GT4. It really does.
With the engine being behind your head, is it as loud in the Porsche, like the actual engine noise, not just the exhaust, but like the induction noises of the engine?
I think this is louder. The only cars that I can, like 3 off the top of my head, that sound as good as they do stock is this, the Aventador, and the LFA.
Wow. Listen, that is some high company right there. That is some really big company.
Oh my, dude, I don't understand how this is NA. I don't, because
it doesn't feel like
even lower end torque, like I'm not going through the gears to find the torque. It's readily available. The GT4 just has a bite to the brakes that gives me a lot more confidence than this does.
You're right.
I know this is braking, but I don't feel it grabbing in the brakes like it's like, that's the only way I can explain it.
Oh my.
Oh, yes. Yes, 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 yes. Good God! Oh my, dude, this hugs the roads.
Oh, it's insane. It's
the way that the sitting and just the chassis and how low that Porsche sits just gives me a little bit more grip and confidence. I feel like
right.
Like this is wild, dude. This is so good.
This car coming from Chevy is not what I expected.
No.
Coming from a Corvette, especially when the C7 was the latest platform.
Yeah.
The C7, that is not a bash on the C7 in the slightest. I love C7s. This car is like nothing I would have ever expected to come out of an American car manufacturer.
It doesn't compare.
No.
If I had no perception of cars, but I knew how to drive them, I'd never say this is an American car.
Right.
I'd never say this is an American car. But like when these first came out, everyone kept calling them the American Ferrari, right? Because they had the styling and the cues and all of that stuff, plus the flat 8. Dude, man, my biggest takeaway on this powertrain, like the engine, the torque, the delivery, the pickup, NA, naturally aspirated. It doesn't make sense. I will say, I do not like the paddles. They feel so cheap.
I can see that's a
they
GM.
Feel
that's
so
a
cheap.
GM class.
Like these, my biggest gripe on the R8 was the paddles felt cheap, and these do too. Like, I know they're carbon fiber, but like feeling the click and all that, it's not satisfying.
Like there's a long, it's a long pull.
Yeah.
Which I personally don't like.
Yeah. I like my 500s better.
I like your 500s better. And you know what? I'm gonna say something right here that's really gonna trigger a lot of people. I like my Mach 1's paddles better.
Than the 500 too?
No.
Oh.
No, not the 500. I like my Mach 1 paddles better than these paddles.
Okay.
Because there's not that take up.
Yeah. I'm sorry GM guys, but because of how poor these are, I feel like I'm getting a delay with the shifts in the transmission. Hold on, I'm gonna, just let me take it in for a second.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's hard to say. I want to say they're maybe on par with the 500s, but they still feel a little bit slower.
Yeah.
Like it's not as quick of a shift. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's because of the feeling.
So
it's smooth. I think that's the thing. My 500 shifts, they're violent.
Your 500 is violent.
Yeah.
Period. That whole car is violent.
And I think because the shifts on this are so much smoother, it might be that my brain's processing it as slower.
That could be.
I think that's what it is.
There's probably more shift pressure because the 500 makes a lot more torque than this.
Oh, yeah.
This makes high 400s.
Dude, the
pound-feet of torque? It doesn't feel like
yeah,
it, though.
the power to weight ratio in this, it is like perfect.
Takeaways from the GT4.
Well, my first takeaway is there are way too many Americans in Mexico. They got to seal that border. I'm shocked at just how planted this thing is. Zero roll, zero understeer, zero oversteer. It felt to me like I was on rails, literally. People say that all the time. I don't think I've driven a car on a canyon road that is so smooth that it literally felt like I was just on rails.
As far as cornering goes, absolutely. Obviously, like I said in the beginning of the video, remember, this is a 2016, this is a 2024. This has 2 more cylinders and about 150 or 200 more horsepower.
Yeah. So
you've got to keep that in mind. But as far as grip goes, it actually is a very level comparison. Both rear-wheel drive, mid-engine, on PS4s. Brakes are squeaky, huh?
Perfect. It's a perfect Porsche.
Performance brakes.
Yes, performance brakes.
Porsche brakes.
Yeah, Porsche brakes.
They work well, and they let you know it, apparently, by screaming.
God.
The biggest takeaway that I think Jake had from the Z06, the exhaust is insane. The exhaust is crazy. I mean, you guys heard it on the GoPro footage there. And it's just, you guys gotta hear this thing in person. If you're watching this and you live by me, you have gotta come out to a car meet or something that I go to, because you have gotta hear this car in person. I promise you, you will never ever understand what it sounds like truly under any videos. I mean, I have an external mic. Jake has external mics. They're not gonna do this car justice at all. Here we go. All right. I'm a little nervous, but I'm obviously.
Has it been a while since you've driven manual?
More excited.
And then, okay, now.
Oh, dude, this thing's easy. This clutch is not.
No, it's not bad.
It is not hard. Please don't pull out in front of me. Thank you. Bro! Okay. Off the rip, I get exactly what you're saying. It's loud. And then once you get like, I don't know, maybe 4,500 to 5,000 RPMs,
yeah,
it just goes into a whole other level, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed this.
Isn't that auto rev matching awesome?
I've missed this. This thing is butter smooth.
Yeah.
So it definitely, I feel like the power band's not quite like the Z06, because the Z06, it hits you at like 3,500,
yeah,
and the torque curve just stays there.
This one you gotta chase.
Yes, this is like it kind of reminds me of the Mustang in a sense.
Yeah.
my naturally aspirated one, of course, where it's like, yeah, the higher you go in the RPMs, the more you feel that torque. Its pros and its cons.
Yeah, and like I was saying, first and second gear has a lot of low-end torque, but after that, you've really got to chase the torque in each gear.
Ooh, that's crisp. There's zero body roll.
None.
Zero body roll. I get what you're saying with the brakes too. These brakes are they feel more solid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's less give once they bite. Like they bite and they're there.
Yeah.
But I obviously I haven't gone on them yet, but they don't feel extremely overly harsh.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Oh my. The steering is so connected.
Yes.
Like you were saying, it feels. I don't want to use the word stiffer. It seriously feels like the steering is connected by a solid beam of some sort to the steering. Yeah. There's no give, there's no play, and you're 100% right. You know exactly where the front wheels are. It's not boring. Yeah. It's not boring. A lot of cars, especially nowadays, with all the new technologies and whatnot, and all the assists and whatnot, it really is like point and shoot. Yeah. Like you were saying, like the Z06 is. And I'm sure this has a lot to do with this car being a manual. I'm still so engaged. Yeah. I mean, you're cruising this up the canyon, dude. I don't know of very many, or if any, cars are better for just flat out pure enjoyment. You want to romp on it, enjoyment. You know what I mean? I've also driven an Audi R8 on the track before, and I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm taking this, as far as the driving experience perspective, over an R8 9 out of 10 times. Yeah. I say 9 out of 10 times because in a straight line, the R8 it's got more horsepower. That's the only gripe I really have with this car from a driving experience, is straight line, especially comparing it to my 500. It is like so slow. So slow. 100%. And then the only other time that I would take an R8 over this is, dude, V10s in general just sound. The exhaust note is just so hard to beat. The sound. But you know how when we were talking in the parking lot, I was telling you that this is like borderline baby GT3 RS like engine sound wise? Oh yes. No, I get it 100%. Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. It's not super high pitch. It's a little bit of a lower, deeper tone. Yeah. But like the similarities are there. 100%. And personally, you ask me, dude, I like a deeper tone. Yeah, I do too. That's why I like American V8 so much. Yep. I mean, but this definitely, especially since you have the headers on it, it has its own tone. Yeah. It doesn't feel like you're trying to replicate a GT3 RS. No. The levels of grip are insane. This car only has 400 horsepower. I just want to be in the high RPMs. I do. See what I was saying right there? You push it a little bit too much. Yeah. There's not enough front end grip, so you had a little bit of that understeer. Right. But the Cup 2s, I think, would help quite a bit. This might be the easiest car I've ever driven in the corners. It's so good. In the sense that it doesn't fight you. Yeah. It doesn't fight you. Now, granted, I'm used to driving front engine, high horsepower boats made out of America. Mustangs, Camaros, the Chevy SS, the Blackwing even, absolute units. Yeah. You definitely understand how having a lightweight car just changes the whole driving experience. Oh, yeah. Unless you're racing in a straight line on a drag strip, which this car is not meant for in the slightest way, it's not like I'm saying, oh, I wish this car had more horsepower. Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't, because I can romp on this thing in the corner and it doesn't want to kick out the rear end. I'm giggling. I could imagine, I could imagine like getting used to this car in a sense, as in knowing where the limits are. Yeah. Because I can tell you right now, I am not and will not get anywhere even near. Yeah. Picked it up. I had an
Well, the brakes worked.
Good, good. So as I got into
I was
them,
borderline scared for a second. Once you got on the brakes, I was like, oh, we're good.
I never got them on the floor.
Yeah.
And the steering never went.
Yeah.
Like you know how in a lot of cars you hit the brakes on the floor, it kind of yanks you?
Yeah.
Dude, I never got that.
Yeah.
Holy. Ladies and gentlemen, this car is, so you think about cars that are made for fun driving, for driving experience. You know, the lightweight cars, like a Miata that everybody loves. Imagine a Miata where everything is more refined and better quality and stiffer and more solid and faster. I don't even know another car that I can compare it to, because the experience is, it's lightweight, it handles incredibly well, everything is high quality. The amount of confidence that you have in that car while driving it is unreal. You guys saw in the video, I scared him.
You did.
I scared him big time on the brakes, came flying up here in Mexico, and I had to test out the brakes. And the thing about it is that I didn't even push it.
I could see you applying, and I legit thought, dude, we've got heat fade because the brakes aren't working. And then he pressed the brakes, I'm like, oh no, he just wasn't even pressing.
Bingo. And in the corners, dude, I might have used 20% of the car.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one corner where I felt the tires grab. Other than that, it was almost like the car was like, "Okay, we're on this road here. Are we gonna actually do anything?" What's the elephant in the room?
Which one are you taking home?
Listen, I've got to take the Z06, but mainly the only reason is the engine.
Absolutely.
The higher horsepower, the V8. And for 90% of driving, I feel like the Z06 it's plushier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, if I was gonna go rip a canyon road like tonight, I honestly feel like I would have more fun in the GT4. I feel like that car was fully built for this type of thing, where the Z06, again, is so good in all areas that you can use it for anything and do extremely well. The GT4 is purely enjoyment. It's pure driver experience. Both are dailyable for sure, but I think the Z06 is a little bit more luxurious, a little bit more plush, and sound, and in a straight line, the Z06 is where it shines.
Echo everything you just said. Brandon, how about you? How you feeling?
I love them both. They're not the same car. After switching cars back out and me taking the Z06, I recognize that I like the extra horsepower.
Yes.
But I absolutely, even in that car, when people say it's a track weapon, it is not as confident going into tight corners as the GT4 is. So if I gotta only put one in my garage, I'm sticking with the Z06 because of the all-around capability. The GT4, I would say, is an absolute funner car to drive, especially in the canyons, and the connection with the manual. It's two different cars. I'd love to have them both.
What about you? What about you? What's your take?
For me, I echo everything that you both said. It's hard because I already have the 500.
Exactly.
Right?
You have a higher horsepower car. Yeah.
So I definitely love having a higher horsepower car for like the roll races and just straight line speed, right? I love also just like American muscle, how raw and just burly it is, right? But since owning this car, it has completely changed my perception on like what matters, straight line speed or canyon chasing,
I can
right?
see that, yeah.
And I think for me, like now that I've had the Porsche for a little bit longer, I could maybe part ways with the 500 and still be as happy with the GT4. Just because I've had so much fun up in the canyons with this GT4. I do, dude, don't get me wrong, I love the Z06. I am definitely getting one and adding one to my garage someday, because if I was blind and could, like, had no perception of feeling anything, I would just want to listen to that engine all day long. The powertrain in that is otherworldly. It is unreal.
It's insane.
The GT4 just exudes confidence up here in the canyons, where the Z06 exudes confidence for everyday driving and just still being a monster up in the canyons as well.
That is gonna wrap up the video, you guys. Thanks for tuning in for this one. Super fun. Again, huge shout out to Jake. That is Frostbite_UT. go subscribe to the channel, go check it out, go look at his 500. I know you guys are like me, you like those big high horsepower muscle cars. The GT500 is insane. Big shout out to him for bringing out the Porsche. I'll talk to you guys on the next one.